So I've just been on a bit of a mission to get to this place. And I only really recently sort of worked out earlier on this year that I was already there. And that was able to help me, reduce some of the stress levels as per, pushing so hard. It wasn't actually needed. So it was a bit of a mindset shift with, choosing to do something rather than having or needing to.
This is Property Investory, where we talk to successful property investors to find out more about their stories, mindset, and strategies. I'm Tyron Shum, and in this episode on Property Investory, we're chatting with Sasha Hopkins of the A-Team Property Group, who will share his journey to find his safe haven and how the desire to create a business with access to professionals that aid in wealth creation spawned the name of his flourishing company. Also, before we delve into this episode, go over to propertyinvestory.com and subscribe to receive your free property investor case studies, where you'll learn how to generate passive income from your properties. Go there now to sign up for free.
Full name is Sasha Hopkins, and I'm the CEO and director of the A-Team Property Group. That is the main company that we help educate clients to create a tailored investment strategy and then manage that entire process for them. There are a couple of other sister companies as well that helps with providing these sort of results, being in finance and property development. But the main company that helps people is the A-Team.
The inspiration for the name of Hopkins' business was drawn from his own frustrations in sourcing professional help in property.
It happened when I was actually on a holiday in Bali, literally driving around in the backseat of a minibus, and I was trying to get finance for a townhouse development that I was attempting at the time, and it literally had been probably about 2.5 months of waiting, and my broker coming up with all these different excuses, and then pretty much the last straw, and I get an email and basically said that he wasn't unable to actually to get me finance for this deal. And later I found out that he hadn't actually submitted it, and we won't go into that. But so that sort of stemmed some frustration because, I was working in the industry at the time as a property investment advisor, and I sort of thought, well, here I am working in the industry, trying to achieve, my own goals and results, and I can't even get the results or get the outcomes that I'm wanting or needing, and I work in this space. So imagine what it would be like for you everyday type of Australian that doesn't really have the background or the experience trying to buy a home, get finance, invest in property. It's no wonder there's so many unfortunate, horror stories, or people get turned off and don't ever want to continue. So I thought, well, it'd be great if there was just this centralized place or this team of people that you could just go to get, great results in, whether it's wealth, finance, investing, whatever it might be, just have one main place or team. And then I thought, well, yeah, you really need an A-team of professionals to help you. And then that name stuck, and here we are today.
So what does he do in any given day?
Generally wake up at 5, just before 5:30. Get up, go to the gym. I'm a morning person, so love to get a good workout in to start the day well, and then I'll come home. And generally, my wife and daughter will be just getting up. And I've got a little 15-month-old girl. Her name's Winter.
Congrats.
So thanks a lot. I like to get in a little bit of time with them in the morning. Have breakfast. Feed her breakfast, the daughter, not the wife, that is, and then sometimes my wife will take the dog to the park, and I'll have a little bit of time with Winter, and then get ready for the day, and generally get to the office between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, and then I've got a team here of around sort of 10 to 12 people floating in and out. And our goal really each day is to change as many lives as we can, meaning, help as many people either start or continue their wealth creation journey using property as that vehicle.
Growing up in northern New South Wales and then completing his secondary education in Queensland, Hopkins' first job made him realise that he needed some direction in his life.
Before I hit the teen years, I actually grew up about 20 minutes outside of a place called Nimbin. I don't know if you know where Nimbin is, but it's the marijuana capital of Australia. I actually was raised as a little bit of a hippie, and now I'm as opposite as you can be, living the city life. But we then moved up to Noosa to sort of start fresh up there. Was there for around about 5 or 6 years or so. And look, unfortunately, the parents split up when I was around 16, and that sent me into a little bit of a downward spiral. And that resulted in me getting expelled from school. And then so I decided, well, I tried to go to a new school to finish year 12, but school just wasn't for me anymore. So I started working, and the first sort of full-time job I got was literally in a nursery, potting plants all day long. I did that for about 5 months, and then one day, after my 150th plant potted for the day, I sort of took the first moment in my life, took a step, looked up and just thought, where the hell am I actually going with my life? Like, this is a joke. I'm not in school. I don't have anything. I don't have any sort of passions at all. Is this really all that I am? And then, that really sort of sparked my first sort of light bulb moment. And I realized, quickly that I needed to change my environment because, continuing down that path was not going to get me anywhere. And I knew that I had more to offer. So I made the decision at 17 to leave the family up there. So I left home at 17 and decided that I just wanted to finish school, but I needed a new fresh start. So I moved to Melbourne and finished school in 2006. It was to be for a trial year, but I'm still here, some 11 odd years later. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do after school. I didn't see the point in going to uni, if I didn't really enjoy or if I wasn't passionate about something. So I just started working. And one thing you learn pretty quickly on in life is that when you leave home at an early age, or really any age, but certainly as a 17-year-old, you need money pretty quickly. So that was one lesson that I learned very early on, is that, look, if I want to do anything, I need to get money. So that was the reason I started to work. And then, I thought, well, I knew that I like the concept of money. I know that it could help me, do things that I wanted to and live a good life. And look, my family were certainly the opposite of wealthy. Definitely not from the wealthy side at all. And that was always a bit of a challenge. So look, I thought, all right, well, I'm going to start working. I've been always good at saving. I've been working from quite an early on age.
Then he experienced his first foray into investing before discovering the book that would form part of the inspiration to take action and divert into property.
When I turned 18, I started investing in shares a little bit, and they went well. Then the GFC came along and dropped, and then bounced back up again after that a little bit. And I was working for a couple of years and started to learn a bit more about money. And, I was fascinated by it because I knew that if I could understand it, then I could probably do more things in life that I wanted. And so that sort of began the learning curve of reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and coming across the property market after that sort of not so good experience with the share market. And similar sort of time to that, I met a girl called Lana, who is my wife now, and we've been together for nearly 10 years. But I met a girl, and that was sort of my next motivation or light bulb moment about, all right, well, if I want to look after this girl, I knew that she was the one. I don't have any qualifications behind me, so I need to start getting street smart. And that's sort of what triggered that sort of big learning phase of money, of investing, and leading me onto property. And then I bit the bullet after my 21st and bought bought my first property. Had no idea what I was doing. Took advice from the first person I ever spoke to, who happened to live on the same street as I bought the property. So you can imagine it's fairly biased. And that's how I started the property journey.
Other jobs Hopkins attempted before entering into property investing included retail and landscaping.
I quit the nursery, proudly quit the nursery just before I moved to Melbourne at the beginning of 2006, and then finished year 12, and then I just went out into doing random jobs, whether it was doing some landscaping, there was a little bit of retail. I may have been the doorman for Supre for a few months, the female shop, if you know what that is. But that was mainly just to meet girls, of course. And a whole bunch of random things. And then I sort of started to work for Telstra. And that's kind of where, at the same sort of time as when I started getting into property, and that was sort of the first proper job with a bit of commission. I worked out I was really good at sales. And then I sort of worked my way up through Telstra, went into Telstra Business, and was in Telstra for a good few years, and was quite successful in that role. And that's kind of, and I was in Telstra for about, 3 or 4 years before I became a property investment advisor or a consultant.
This new advisor role was brought on when Telstra acknowledged his passion for real estate and decided to combine that with his sales skill set.
That I was brought across to a company. My passion for property, I was sort of on my fourth property by 22, I think, or 22 or 23, one of the two, at that point in time. And I'd worked with these people who owned the company for quite a few years, and I was very good at that job when I was working for them, and they brought me across to their property company at that point in time. And that's sort of where, again, it sparked the next big growth phase of property and working in it, day in, day out with more experienced people than me. It was a great learning and growth phase to then start mentoring, Australians one-on-one to help them, start or continue building a portfolio. It was definitely it was the dream job that was landed for a good few years there.
Coming up after the break, we'll delve into Hopkins' property journey on the scope of his growing portfolio.
On completion value, I think it's either in this year alone 10 or 11 million worth of property, which is definitely been my best year to date.
His aim for his business, the A-Team.
My goal really is to become the number one property investment company in Australia based on, client results, based on their experience, based on, the sophistication of the investment strategies.
And that's next. I'm Tyron Shum, and you're listening to Property Investory. Hey podcast listeners, are you enjoying listening to these stories and want more? Then head over to propertyinvestory.com and subscribe to receive your free property case studies that I only send exclusively via email. Just one of the many benefits of being part of this community. These real case studies are from experienced property investors where they share specific numbers of their portfolio, the strategies, and much more. Simply visit propertyinvestory.com to get your free case studies. Now back to the show. With an ever-expanding portfolio of around 25 properties, Hopkins has also invested in a number of development sites.
I've gone really crazy this year, I will say. I've bought 4 development sites. I just literally got an offer accepted on one yesterday. 4 development sites this year alone, with on completion value, going through the plans and the DA process and starting construction on some of those. On completion value, I think it's either in this year alone 10 or 11 million worth of property, which is definitely been my best year to date. So in terms of the entire portfolio, look, with these recent purchases, once they're complete, I'd be looking at probably 13, maybe 14 million.
So ultimately, what is his vision for his portfolio?
besides property investment and now business being another passion, I do have a great, love for educating people and also inspiring people to take action. I guess that was one of the other reasons why I started the A team, is because, I helped a lot of people in the other job, and I wanted to keep doing that, but just teaching what I had done to replace my income by age 26. And my goal really is to become the number one property investment company in Australia based on, client results, based on their experience, based on, the sophistication of the investment strategies. That's my goal, is to be number one in the industry and be able to, I'd love to create 1,000 people that can become financially independent through our strategies and the 3-step formula that we teach. So that's, I guess, my purpose. It's certainly been a good start so far.
There have been several pressure points in Hopkins' experience in property, whether it be finance or lack of income, which have also been challenging to overcome.
Finance always, forever seems to be an extremely frustrating and overcomplicating process. Where a lot of the time we're at mercy to the banks, and it's easy. I mean, even with the amount, not including the day-to-day client investments and finances that we obviously do and manage, but even personally, I still get very frustrated with banks. Whether that's the lowest point, I'm not too sure. That's something, that any serious property investor, I'm sure, would be able to relate to. The inconsistency and just strange actions of banks a lot of the time, without any rationale. Lowest point for me is if I haven't been able to actually do something or acquire a property because of finance or the banks, or for example couldn't get finance because of being recently self-employed or something like that, and I knew that was going to set me back. It could be a year or something like that. That for me, I've been on a little bit of a race to get to what I call my safe haven, and that's sort of, I guess, a place where I know that moving forward, no matter what happens, myself, my family, my parents, my sister, my wife's family are just going to be always protected, and no matter what happens, they'll be fine, they'll be safe. So I've just been on a bit of a mission to get to this place, and I only really recently sort of worked out earlier on this year that I was already there, and that was able to help me, I guess, reduce some of the stress levels. As per, pushing so hard, it wasn't actually needed. So it was a bit of a mindset shift with, choosing to do something rather than having or needing to.
A particular investing moment which took a turn for the worst was when he lost a significant sum of money on a deposit for a property.
One stressful part was once when I bought a mortgagee possession property, which was a triplex development. The solicitor wasn't able to. They didn't pick up a particular council constraint in the contract, and I'd already gone unconditional on the property, and I had to pull out because of this particular condition that wasn't picked up on, and that actually had my $75,000 deposit at complete risk of being lost. That was highly stressful. And I engaged a professional to help me out. And of course, people, point blame in many directions away from themselves. I did manage to get back $60,000 of the 75, but it still cost me about $15,000 for that experience. That was definitely a stressful part. One of the lowest, you could say.
The lesson to be learned: to have the right team behind you to ensure these things are well managed, which is what the A team is able to do in helping people with their own property dilemmas.
Now, the people that we work with, I've been very, very strict on those people and who are on our A team to ensure things like that don't get missed. I understand people can make mistakes, but when it's at the cost of your own hard-earned dollars, it doesn't matter how good they are, it's still going to be bloody stressful.
There have been several moments throughout Hopkins' journey where everything seemed to click, like when he felt motivated to begin investing to provide for his family.
So the first one was that moment that I looked up and realised that there was more to me than what I was doing. And that was the first time I probably felt empowered to do something. The next one was, when I met the girl of my dreams, I knew that she was the one. For me to be able to give her and my future family what I wanted to in the life, that without the financial limitations that I had, that was probably the next one as the driver to start really getting serious around sort of just after I turned 20. And then the next one after that was when I sort of, working for the old employer, realised that there was an incident where I felt really undervalued and put in a lot of effort, helped them grow a very successful business, and wasn't valued. And then I coincidentally went away on my holiday the next week, and then that's sort of when the idea of the A-Team came about. Always happens like that, of course. And that was brought on by reading Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant. So they've been probably the two most powerful books I've read, being that one and Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Another important aha moment was realizing that he actually reached his original goal, his safe haven.
And then the fourth one was, as I said, only a few months ago. I sort of, a lot of my motivation to get to where I got to, was, I suppose, based on a little bit of, I guess, fear. What I mean by that is, fear of not getting to this place, or fearing of having to get to this place before I'm allowed to kind of relax and smell the roses. And, I guess even though I've done very well and I'm fairly modest, to be honest with you, but I haven't really allowed myself to feel a sense of achievement for a lot of the stuff that I've done. And that was because I knew that I wasn't at this place yet. I knew that I had to keep going to be able to get to this place. And when I went away with Lana, my wife, and my little daughter to Europe in August, I was when I go on holidays, I was thinking all this stuff, and then sort of had some unanswered sort of questions. Something was a bit unsettling, and then I sort of, when I got back the day before I was to come back to work on the Monday, I sort of went through this. Literally took about 4 hours, between 11 to 4 a.m. in the morning of working out that I was actually at this. Firstly, what does that safe haven that I talk about? What actually is that? What is that exact lifestyle that I want to live? How much would it cost? And then where am I at based on my current situation? And then it took 4 hours to work out that I was already there. And then I woke up the next morning feeling really enlightened and I guess a lot lighter. And I realised me going because work can sometimes be bloody stressful. I will say starting a business isn't easy. And then when I sort of went to work that day, I sort of thought, well, I don't actually need to feel these ongoing stresses or the panic that I sometimes get. Something could impact, my future safe haven as such. I can actually choose to go to work. I don't have to go to work, and that's a big difference. And that's probably the biggest mindset shift that I've had in many years is being able to distinguish the difference between choosing to do what I do rather than having to, I guess. And that helps me motivates me more to want to inspire other people to take the action to get to that same level or that same place.
So, inspired by Hopkins' property journey, we'll keep the conversation going in a future episode of Property Investory. We'll talk about how to apply the strategy.
My exact strategy as such, and which is now what we refer to as the Hopkins formula that we teach our clients, which is a 3-step formula named after myself, of course. Now, the 3-step formula is what I did to replace my income in the first 5 years.
The personal habits which have contributed to his success.
I break down my life into 6 pillars. So 1 is business and or occupation, 2, financial and wealth, 3, mental and emotional, 4, health and fitness, 5, relationships and family, and 6, fun and reward.
And that's next time on a future episode of Property Investory. Also, if you haven't subscribed to receive your free property case studies that I only send out exclusively via email, you can text me your email address to 04 99 88 10 40 to subscribe. These real case studies are from experienced property investors where they share specific numbers of their portfolio, the strategies, and much more. Simply text me your email address to 04 99 88 10 40 to get your free case studies. Thanks for listening.